Hello Djiboutians and everyone watching us live on the radio television of Djibouti. Here are the headlines for this evening. After New York and Paris, President Anglais returns to the capital. And in the National Assembly opening session of Parliament on budget. In our international news, Nicolas Sarkozy is sitting this Thursday on a correctional referral. Welcome to our newsroom, dear viewers. The President of the Republic, His Excellency Ismail Omar Guelleh, returned to the country early this Tuesday evening after his participation in France's official tribute to its former head of state, Jacques Chirac, who died last Thursday in Paris. The head of state of Djibouti had traveled to Paris after taking part in the 74th General Assembly of the United Nations in New York, United States. The President of Djibouti's participation in the United Nations General Assembly was marked by his important speech in the restroom of the event. The surplus procedural legitimacy and profile of the Republic of Djibouti in its bid for the non-permanent seat of the United Nations Security Council and its commitment to the values of multilateralism were, among other things, the strong points of the speech by the head of state of the 74th General Assembly of the United Nations. It was in our National Assembly, it was in our major stories. The Assembly met today for the work of the so-called 2019 budget session. Parliamentarians returned this morning under the cloudy skies reunions. This important national event was marked by the speech of the President of the National Assembly, Mr. Mohamed Ali Ahmed, who highlighted the responsibility of parliamentarians on the set of principles aimed at consolidating democratic values and civic values, the need to improve the quality of parliamentary work and the adoption of a governance approach in the order to meet citizens' aspirations and serve the public interest. In addition to the examinations of certain taxes whose urgency is established, this session will be mainly devoted to the examination and adoption of the Initial Finance Bill 2020. The President of the National Assembly, Mohamed Ali Ahmed, welcomed all participants, the Prime Minister, the members of the government, parliamentarians, diplomatic officials, the Mayor of Djibouti, and the regional leaders who participated in the opening of the budget session. The work will last 3 months and will be the most important of the year for the proper functioning of our country and the parliamentary institution. He welcomed the return of the parliamentarians after the holidays that allowed them to meet with the voters in their constituents. An opening that marks the start of the Djibouti Parliament's activities, which will examine in depth the 2020 project. Sustained exchanges will be held between the government and parliamentarians during the work on the draft budget and on the many current topics. The opening of the budget session was preceded by important political initiatives by the President of the Republic with the government reshuffle on the eve of the Ramadan and roadmaps for each member of the government. New ministerial powers, including a new responsibility for the Prime Minister to coordinate the government's action in addition to coordinating the administration. The new political lines have drawn for the government with a new of governing, marking a break for the old habits and unity for monitoring government actions was created at the Prime Minister's placed in directly under the authority of the Prime Minister. The government will reflect in its actions the political renewal sought by President Ismail Mirgeli. The government's budgetary policy is in line with government's policy. The principles of the new management required of the government will be rigorous and transparent. The presidential willingness to engage the Djiboutian people to better understand what the government is doing will be extended to the National Assembly. The first one stated in his intervention that all members of the government are willing to participate more actively in the implementation of the budgetary policy, whose work will begin today, but also in all government actions. He concluded that the strengthening of exchanges between the executive and legislative powers will lead to democracy and good governance in order to consolidate our nation forever. In his intervention at the opening of the budget session this morning, the President of the Assembly, Mohamed Ali Hummat, specified the agenda of the current ordinary session. More in this video.
Bienvenue à tous au sein de cet hémicycle et merci d'honorer par votre présence cette séance d'ouverture de la session budgétaire du Parlement.
The Assembly meet today for work, which called 2019 budget session parliamentarian return this morning in the cloudy sky. This important national event was marked by the speech of the President of National Assembly, Mr. Mohamed Ali Hummat, who highlighted the responsibility of parliamentarians on the seat of principal aim and consolidating democratic value and civic value, the need to improve the quality of parliamentary work, and the adoption of government approach in order to meet situation, aspiration, and serve the public interest. In addition to this examination of some tests who urgently establish, this section will be mainly devoted to the examination and adoption of Initial Finance Bill 2020. The President of National Assembly, Mohamed Ali, welcomed all participants, the Prime Minister, the Member of Government, the parliamentarian and diplomatic official, the Mayor of Djibouti, and regional leaders who participate in the open budget session. The work of last 3 months will be the most important of the year.
The Prime Minister Abdul Qadir Kamil Mohammed, in his budget policy speech, announced that the government will continue to translate political renewal into actions. Let's listen to him.
L'ouverture de la session budgétaire marque symboliquement la rentrée de l'activité politique de cette auguste assemblée.
The opening of the budget session symbolically marks the beginning of the new term of political activities of this noble assembly, and thus usually sets the pace for the whole country. Its high point is the examination of the budget, which expresses government policy in figures. It is thus an opportunity for sustained exchange between the government and the deputies on many topical issues. This year, this parliamentary opening was preceded by important political initiative by the President of the Republic, to which we must return. First, a government reshuffle on the eve of Ramadan with the roadmaps for each member of the government and new ministerial responsibilities, including a new responsibility for the Prime Minister to coordinate the government's action in addition to coordinating the administration. Then the presidential speech during the reception at the Presidency of the Republic, specifying to the Djibouti people the new political lines that are being drawn for the government. Then to support these speeches, the launch of a new way of governing, marking a break with the old habits, thanks to the creation of a unit to monitor government action placed directly under the authority of the Prime Minister. Finally, a very important speech on September solved by President Ismail Omar Guelleh. Ladies and gentlemen, the technical unit for project monitoring, what we call the Generic Delivery Unit, the DU, will be responsible for providing objective and real-time information on the progress of the projects undertaken and the results obtained. As a result, adjustments will be possible, correction can be made, and the result will be clearly known. The commitments made by the President of the Republic to the people will become concrete and measurable. The management of public policy will become transparent. This reform of public policy is one of the greatest democratic advances in our country. In the future, voters will know exactly not only whether what is said by the government is being done, but also under what condition it is being done. The responsibility of conductual, as measurable and verifiable indicators, will objectively support all data. This reform will anchor political life in democracy in the future. This is an additional guarantee to avoid any slippage in political life in future years.
The economic architecture that supports the international free zones with the train in the next new road, Jarjura Bal'a, which is in the terminal phase, will play their vectors of economic growth and impact job creation, said the Prime Minister. More in this video.
La première grande priorité nationale continuera à être orientée vers un développement rapide, que Djibouti devienne une plateforme moderne des transports et des services pour toute la région.
It is also clear that this profound reform does not change the permanent initiatives taken to improve the lives of our fellow citizens and first and foremost those of the most disadvantaged. Employment, on the contrary, by consolidating our democracy through concrete and objective monitoring of government actions, what will be undertaken for the most disadvantaged will be even more obvious to all. The national solidarity that will be highlighted in this way will strengthen the nation. So, ladies and gentlemen, the two main national priorities will be pursued. The first major national priority will be oil in bulk ports. The focus is on activities that provide even greater national added value. The large commercial and industrial free trade zone established at PK20, where now hotel, has just been completed. The planned construction of a ship repair workshop and also the construction of a terminal for Ethiopia's gas supply will complete this development pole. This will generate many new jobs. The future is full of promise. In this respect, we need to develop the entire northern part of the country. Here, too, new jobs and new economic activities will be created. The economic development of this region will be boosted. This economic base will allow domestic and foreign investors to establish themselves in order to make their investments grow. That is our objective, because to do so, they will create many jobs. Work is already underway to adjust our training to the country's future economy. Inter-ministerial committees are active in providing guidelines in this area. Thus, the development of an economic pole of transport and services backed by the booming banking and insurance sectors, which are under the control of the central bank, constitutes the basis of our economic development. It will make it possible to introduce our economy into the group of emerging countries. We will all succeed together, inshallah.
And in the last part of his speech, the Prime Minister announced that the pursuit of the objectives of global inclusive development and harmony and social cohesion will continue to act judiciously on the several parameters. Let's listen to the Prime Minister once again.
La seconde grande priorité nationale a trait à l'aide aux populations qui ne sont pas encore insérées dans le développement moderne.
Ladies and gentlemen, the second main national priority concerned aid to populations that are not yet integrated into the modern development and their way around the capital, and to people in a situation of great difficulty of disadvantage, health, social action, rural development, women and the family, and decentralization are the spearheads. The health sector as a whole remains a high government priority. This allows the nation not only to offer the best human resource, but also and above all to respond to the character of social justice desired by the government. The National Social Security Fund improved the quality of services provided to workers and their families. Its management is progressing rigorously and thus constitutes an additional guarantee for the future. It actively contributes to the implementation of universal health coverage within the framework of the Sustainable Development Goals. Good health has been placed on malaria. Indeed, a sharp increase in this disease has been noted over the past year. Non-communicable diseases are also under. The upgrading of commissioning of the intermediate polyclinic will complete the reference system of the health pyramid, and finally improving the management and availability of medicines at all levels of health facilities will complement this health system to improve its effectiveness. But still persistent obstacles on the road to the health for all still need to be removed. Consideration will be given to this area.
The Ministry of National Education in this communique and vocational training announces that the Caribbean informs the population that due to the heavy rains recorded in recent days in the city of Djibouti, schools and vocational training centers will be closed tomorrow, Wednesday, October 2nd, 2019. The Minister of Health, Mr. Mohamed Warsamadiri, chaired this morning at the People's Palace a workshop to validate the results of the national survey focusing on nutrition commissioned by the Department of Health with the valuable support of the UNICEF and the European Union. The event took place with the participation of the Minister of Labour and the Minister of Women and Family. It should also be noted that the final and updated data from this new nutritional status survey, which was conducted using the SMART methodology, were therefore unveiled in the presence of the United Nations Resident Systems Coordinated Barbara Menzi and a panel of representatives of the International Organization of Technical and Financial Partners such as WHO, USAID, WFPA, and the World Bank, conducted in close collaboration with the Institute of National, as well as the objective of this SMART survey is to assess the nutritional status of children under 5 years of age, to measure with accuracy and precision the progress made in area since the last similar survey in 2013. Although a significant decrease in the prevalence of the three types of malnutrition is generally observed, which is some reflects a good result for nutritional programs. The experts highlighted the persistence of the bottlenecks, particularly in the regions of Dakhil and Tajora, where the situation seems to have changed very little. The analysis of this official to SMART 2019 survey data shows overall improvements and shows a general downward trend in acute and severe malnutrition rates. In her intervention, UNICEF representative Melva Johnson commended the outstanding work undertaken by the Ministry of Health and the National Institute of Statistics in carrying out this survey. And for his part, the Minister of Health, Mr. Mohamed Warsamadiri, immediately praised the involvement of the community and the inclusive participation of all stakeholders, which made it possible to guarantee of quality and reliability throughout the implementation of this survey. On this Tuesday, October the 1st, the Minister of Defense in charge of relations with Parliament, accompanied the Lieutenant General Zakaria Sheikh Ibrahim, visited the Chinese support base in Djibouti in order to participate in the ceremonial activities within the framework of the 70th anniversary of the People's Republic of China. Upon arrival at the base, the Minister of Defense and the Chief of General Staff of the Armed Forces were jointly welcomed by Senior Colonel Yang Yong, commander of the China PLA support base in Djibouti, and Mr. Zhuo Ruizhuang, ambassador of China to Djibouti. In addition, in his speech given, the commander of the China base warmly thanked General Zakaria, EDF Chief of Staff, and for his part, the Chinese ambassador to Djibouti did not fail in his address to stress the importance of relations and fruitful cooperation, as well as the wise policy that the two presidents, Djibouti and China, have taken to further improve the bond of cooperation between our two countries and our two people. The parliamentary session began this morning with the arrival of seasonal rains. Since yesterday evening, there has been heavy rainfall throughout the country. In the capital, the rainfall started in the evening and still continues this morning. Intermittently, already were visible in some neighborhoods in the capital's major on-road arteries. The regions are not to be outdone. The seasonal rains cover the regions, especially as well as according to weather forecasts, precipitation risks are forecast for all regions at the capital. This afternoon, the sky remains overcast and the risks of new rains are high, especially in the evening, especially in high-altitude areas. The Saudi Islamic Institute in Djibouti is organizing a ceremony dedicated to the national holiday of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The management of the Saudi Islamic Institute in Djibouti organized today, Tuesday, October the 1st, a ceremony to commemorate the 89th National Day of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. The ceremony took place under the patronage of the ambassador of the guardian of two holy mosques in Djibouti, Mr. Abdulaziz bin Abdulaziz Al-Mattar, in the presence of the director of the institute, Mr. Majdi, director of the Arab Department at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, members of the Saudi mission in Djibouti, and members of the Saudi Institute. Teaching staff and other guests are also attended the event. As part of the contact tour of the new prefect of Arta region, Mr. Mohammed Sheikh Hassan, took place on a Sunday, the second stage in the locality of Wa'a.
Sunday, second stage in locality of Wa'a, a high crowd of young women and local area warmly welcome with traditional songs and dance in front of residence of President of Regional Council of Arta, the President of Regional Council, Mr. Ilmi Bouh Goudade, and the Deputy of Arta, Mr. Omar Wabiri Melo, and the officer of the Gendarmerie and Military Camps, Wais Ajib, as well as delegate of Arta, mediator accompanied on this tour. A presentation meeting was held in the living room, after which the prefect met with the notable and women thanked that the warm welcome they had given. Finally, the new prefect visited the basic school and held center in Wa'a. This stage is the part of meeting with the population of different localities of region. The next stage will be visit and sub-prefecture of Karta and the village of Pekase-Kontian.
On Monday, September 30, 2019, at the request of the Prodermo of the Ministry of Agriculture, with the participation of the Prefecture, the Regional Council, and representative of the beneficiaries communities, a regional workshop was held in Dikhil to complete the Prodermo project. In addition to the beneficiaries and regional authority, this project closing workshop was attended by Mr. Mohammed Munir and Sadun Broka, members of the supervision mission. The objective of this workshop was to evaluate the achievement of Prodermo, to assess the effectiveness and impacts of the project in the pastoral path of the intervention and at the level of beneficiaries, and above all, to evaluate the sustainability of the achievements and the means of strengthening. At the end of the group work and during the plenary sessions, the beneficiaries from different pastoral rangelands expressed their satisfaction and wish that this project will enhance its investment through the development of combined livestock farming to consolidate the project's achievements. Moving on to the international news. Pig Mountain case, Nicolas Sarkozy is scheduled for Tuesday on a correctional referral. The Court of Cassation will say on Thursday, 1st October, whether or not it confirms the transfer of the former head of state and 13 other persons to the criminal court. The trial was ordered in 2017 but has been suspended for 2.5 years due to a long procedural battle. To contest the dismissal, Nicolas Sarkozy had branched that principle according to which a person cannot be sanctioned twice for the same offense. He considered that he had already been definitely condemned by the Constitutional Council in 2013. The body then confirmed the rejection of his accounts because of this overrun which he had reimposed. However, this sanction concerned slippage of only 363,000 euros in 615,000 euros, which was noted before the revelation in spring 2014. Brexit, London will make proposals. Boris Johnson promises that he will very soon make proposals for a possible settlement of the Irish border issue. These proposals, the details of which are not known, aim to keep the land border between Northern Ireland and the Republic of Ireland open after Brexit. Boris Johnson, British Prime Minister, as well as the Irish border is the main bottleneck in the Brexit negotiations, and Brussels criticizes London for not having proposed any solution. Boris Johnson confirmed that his proposal provided for a single territory for agriculture, sanitary and phytosanitary agri-food industries, which is an important concession from the British government. And that's all for this news. Thank you for joining us on the radio television of Djibouti. Have a good night.